All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TFT Podcast, the Fucking Time Podcast. I'm your host, Zil. It's great to have you all back here with us today. We're less tired, and we're all doing pretty well because it is the best season of the year right now. It is Libra season. This is actually the episode that will come out in advance of both my birthday and Libra's birthday. So a very special happy birthday to us because it is the best season. I am, of course, joined by my illustrious co-host, K-Libra. How you doing, K-Libra?
I'm doing better today, and I'm also glad to be not too fucking tired to be speaking a little more coherently.
Yeah, we love that. I mean, Cranky Zil came out last time, and so I've put them back in their box. It's fine now. We're all good.
Okay, good. But we'll soothe Cranky's all another time.
Exactly. How do you feel about Libra season, Libra?
Now that you're going to call it Libra season, it sounds like it's more fun.
It is.
Yeah, I haven't had another Libra to enjoy birthdays with, aside from Dragonstorm.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't... He's a Libra too.
Yeah, and his birthday is 5 days after mine, I think. It's not too
Nice.
far away. So
Nice.
yeah, it's like a little close cluster, and I'm in the middle of everybody.
Hell yeah. Well, the fun fact I always share is that I was supposed to be born on Libra's birthday, but I was impatient and I came 5 days early, so.
Okay. Now, but I don't know, still worth it, it seems. You got a head start.
I did. It was great. I was like, damn, this place is cringe. Anyways, dab. So, you know. But yeah, I am very excited for the episode that we have today. But before we get to our very special, illustrious guest, I do want to remind everyone that we have a Patreon. It is patreon.com/TFTuesdayPod. I love all of our patrons. They are all wonderful. We actually got, like, recently a nice little burst of new people, and that was really wonderful to see. So an extra thank you to all of our new patrons. I all love you dearly.
Yeah.
You are all in my will. I mean, we've talked about the Discord before. It's pretty great. We have potential ideas to make it even better, you know, just like cooking in our little saucepan, so to speak. But yeah, it's pretty dope. I don't know. Anything else you want to say about the Patreon, Libra?
I think that it's been a really good place for people to actually kind of be themselves a little bit more. If you feel like you've had a hard time finding community or meaningful conversation, I think it's been an unexpected success in that regard. Because I know that some people just kind of there to hang out, maybe get a few things, but it's been good to see people actually have a little bit of chemistry with each other, or at least have something to talk about that they have in common. You know, little episode, just an idea. We allow for discussion of a lot of things too. You don't have to just talk about TF all the time, which helps.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know, obviously, if
sharing
you're
a bunch of things.
yeah, and also, if you're a fan of this podcast, you clearly have good taste. So, you know, if you'd like to be in the presence of other people with good taste, then, you know, that's the community for you, right? So, hell yeah. That's enough for the plug. I'm very excited to introduce a returning guest, one who I think hasn't been given their proper dues all the time. And so we wanted to put aside an episode specifically all about them. So I'd like to welcome my fellow Remington Bear. How are you doing, Honey Bear?
Hey, I'm nervous as fuck. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
That's totally okay. We are going to get through this together, and it's going to be glorious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If anything, always remember that we are also responsible for how things go. We have to be good hosts.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The pressure's on. You know, we have to do a really good job because you are such an illustrious guest. So, you know, actually, the pressure's on us because we have to make sure that we are up to par with how good you are as a person.
Yeah, because what if we want to have you back on? We can't screw that up.
Yeah, that's true.
No, this is clearly a one and done deal.
We'll relish in the opportunity then.
Yeah, absolutely. They say it's a one and done deal as everyone every time looks at the images that you and Libra put together for the podcast. It's definitely one and done, yeah.
Well, also like the number of other podcast episodes that I've been on with other people and just kind of like chatting about whatever.
Yeah.
This is true.
But I mean, we also felt that you had something valuable to add, not just in those settings, but also personally, because when, you know, we speak with you, there's just a lot of stuff that, you know, you've brought up that we feel that would be good for other people to hear in your position, because you've been very interesting to get to know and how you got integrated into community spaces, and also just how you evolved from how you like to present yourself, the degree that you like to interact with others, all those things.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. And maybe it would be best to kind of start with your journey, because I feel like you've had a really unique journey when it comes to like integrating into the TF fandom, as Libra just said. And I think one of the exciting things we get to do on this podcast is to hear those stories, because I find that with every one that we go through, someone else finds resonance in that, you know? And one of my favorite things about the podcast is getting to have other people be like, wow, someone else had the same experience as me. So yeah, I think it would be cool to talk a little bit and hear a little bit from you about how you came to find the fandom and, you know, came to find this interest that we all share.
Well, in order to talk about that, I would have to kind of go through like my artist journey a little bit. So I hope you don't mind that I go back a little bit further.
Do not mind at all.
So, like, when I was really younger, I think I remember the first interest that I got into when it came to drawing was, like, I got into Dragon Ball Z, and I really got into the idea of, like, transforming in order to, like, become this bigger version of yourself that is capable of helping people in need.
Yeah.
And that really, like, focused in on the idea of transformation becoming a betterment of yourself. And like a way to boost yourself up.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of fan art of Dragon Ball Z characters when I was younger. And then from there, I ended up moving on to like focusing on horror movies, and like there was an interest in werewolves that was kind of peaked a little bit, but I didn't like dive into it too deeply. But I moved on from there to like original characters. But I didn't realize that at the same time I was also making all of my characters werebeasts, and I didn't really connect the dots at that point. But I also chose to never actually depict that part of those characters. So at one point, I was looking at FA, and I was going like, here's an untouched thing in my repertoire of things I've drawn, and I'm kind of in this spot where I feel kind of stuck, so I want to try something different. So I thought maybe I could like mess around with some like transformation werebeast type stuff while also practicing figure drawing.
Right.
So I would start out, I'd kind of find this pose or something that I really liked and kind of riff off of that and turn it into a werebeast, a mid-transformation werebeast.
Yeah.
And at this point, I had no idea that the transformation community existed, but like slowly over time, as I was also slowly posting, people started like trickling into my comment section, and then I'd see repeat names, and then before you know it, I have people like contacting me about making commissions and stuff like that, and eventually, when I started talking to people, I realized that this is actually a thing. This is like transformation community is an actual thing. And then I guess I just from there just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So you were found and claimed, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% down with it though, because at this point, all I draw is werebeasts, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Hell yeah. I mean, werebeasts are so fucking cool. Like, I mean, you know.
Yeah. Well, like the merging between humanoid and animal is like something that's really interesting to me, and there's so much that you can mess around with, like the percentage of that, or like even as far as like the transformation goes, like what changes first and what stays humanoid, and there's just a bunch you can mess around with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that intersection is just so fascinating. I mean, obviously it's fascinating. It's fascinating to so many different people. But I like when that is tied to the concept of being a were creature, and particularly whether it's around like the cycles of the moon or just like, oh, something else causes it. Like it's, you know, obviously a very old trope, but there's a reason why it's stuck around for so many people. Like it can be used as an analogy for so many different things. And also it's just kind of an interesting concept. And there are so many things that you can do with it, particularly in a modern setting in like modern times now. I feel like there's a lot of like complexities, I guess would be the right word, in terms of like how you navigate that versus like even just like 40 or 50 years ago. Like now that, you know, cameras are everywhere and the internet's a thing, like how do you deal with that? How do you hide that? That's kind of almost impossible.
Yeah, it's a completely different story that you'd be telling, like, versus you could easily keep this a secret versus like there's fucking cameras everywhere and everybody knows what you're doing, and like yeah, there's so much to cover.
I never actually thought about it that way.
Oh, really?
Really?
Just that if you're going to make it a contemporary issue, that you're going to have even more trouble hiding it. You just kind of assume that you would figure out a way or just not show anybody. But yeah, it's true. At any given moment, you screw up and there you are. There's like a little piece of grainy footage. What are you doing at this time of day, at this time of night? And everybody else corresponds your messages and your history, and suddenly you can't explain this. So what's the truth? And
if I almost think of like, you know, like a contemporary werewolf community, for example, like, you know, there's like some sort of sighting and you get kind of like caught, and then you have like your phone blowing up because they're all like, come on, Greg, what the fuck? Like, you know, you shouldn't have been there at that time. We all know when the moon is coming out. Come on, you know, like I feel like there's a lot of funny stuff you could do with it too, which is, you know.
Yeah.
Why do we see you at like fucking 10 p.m. on a Wednesday on Waze in the middle of this fucking grassy
like,
field?
What is this? What are you doing? Come on. You're supposed to leave your phone at home. How many times do we have to tell you this?
With how things leak, I just think of the whole werewolf society thing being just complete bullshit now. It's not possible anymore.
You know what? No, I would push back against that. I think you could still do it. Now, I think it would be easier to do it as like a commune that like lives in the woods somewhere that's like away from everyone, but I think you could still do it.
I think eventually it would come out anyway. You'd have somebody who seems so that attempted to tell somebody, and that person will make a mistake. And that's going to be the thing. The more people you have keeping a secret, you're going to have a harder time keeping it down.
I mean, does it have to be like a secret society? Because what if it it just turned into a self-help group for werewolves?
If it did, now we're just going to be story crafting for like 45 minutes if we keep going.
You know what? I dig it. I'm down with this.
No, I genuinely think that you could make it work in a modern setting. And I understand what you're saying about, like, you know, the more people who knows, the more easy it would be to potentially, like, get out and, like, cause issues. But also, like, I think about all of the different kind of, like, you know, normal kind of, like, horror type things where it's like, oh, like aliens or whatever. Like, urban myth. That's what I'm talking about. Urban myths. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them out there. You know, people point to certain things. They say, oh, you know, ghosts are real because of X, Y, Z. Look at this really, like, you know, very, like, persuasive thing. Or, oh, you know, aliens, the government said blah, blah, blah. And, like, the general public doesn't think about that and doesn't give a shit because there's also a bajillion things going on any given day, and it's like, bro, I'm trying to survive the climate wars right now. You think I got enough energy to think that the aliens are real? Like, you should have come by like 10 years before this. So I don't know, I genuinely think like you can have like grainy evidence or like whatever, and it's like people are still gonna be like, I gotta fucking pay my bills, man. Like whatever.
Yeah, you could do that, or it becomes undeniable, and you have the Monster Musume situation. I think most people who have heard of it don't know that the setting has to do with them being a recent-ish discovery in humanity, and this entire world has the aim to try to integrate them into human society. That's why this guy is stuck with a bunch of different girls, and it becomes a harem anime for him. They're just like, you are going to be the one. And also, you're not allowed to fuck them because that could create a bad political situation.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that is
cowards.
Fucking dumb.
All of them cowards. How dare you deny the forbidden pussy? Like, come on, give me a break. Just saying.
Yeah, forbidden. They're literally throwing themselves out.
I know. Oh, of
because
course.
Because that's how harem animes work. So you know. But it's forbidden nominally unless. But yeah, sorry, back to your journey, Bear. I wanted to pick on that. So, you got claimed, basically. The extroverts kicked down the door and were like, we claim you. You are ours now. And you were like, okay. I was curious, like, after you kind of were introduced to it, what was, like, your first impression of the TF community? Because, again, like you said, this wasn't even really something you were aware of beforehand. And I feel like when people do have, like, kind of that interest, but then are introduced to, like, the community, you get a lot of different perspectives as to, like, how it works and stuff. And, like, there's certain things I think that can be, like, readily accepted in the TF community that then someone comes in who's, like, not immersed and they're like, what the fuck? Like, why do you do this? So I'm curious to hear your perspective on that.
I think when I first started like looking into it and I was like, okay, this is the term, I'm going to search it on FA or whatever, I noticed the trend of seeing a lot of bellies and them inflating and also Pokemon. And I was like, okay, at the time I didn't even realize that people like depicted Pokemon in a sexual way. And okay, like I recognize that's like really naive now, but like at the time I had no fucking idea.
That's fair. I'm imagining you're just like looking up transformation and you just see a fucking Lucario with his dick out and you're like, what?
Why is this happening? This childhood fucking cartoon that I like, hey, I watched a lot of Pokemon too. I love that shit. And all of a sudden, I just see, like, fucking Pokemon with their dicks out, and they're getting fucked, and they're fucking people, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand what's happening.
They're all having a good time. That's what's happening.
Pokemon was never for kids.
I can't argue at this point. I've heard the argument.
But sorry, you were saying.
At this point, I'm down with
Hell
it.
Yeah.
I like the Pokemon TFs. Other than that, like, people seemed really friendly. There was a lot of, like, encouragement and, like, returning people in a way that I didn't see in other communities. Like, people wanted to see your work and they wanted to see what you were going to post next. And, like, I would get consistent commenters. And, funnily enough, I don't think they were the first one, but one of the first people was actually Libra. Go figure.
Who could have foreseen this?
Hi. Not many people.
Well, so then let me ask you, Libra, then. How did you first come across Bear's content?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, it's actually not very exciting, but I pretty frequently check what's new when I just do transformation, FA, category, thing like that. And I noticed this really outstanding art, and it was something that I check the galleries. I check a lot of galleries, and then, theirs was something that I was hoping to see more of. There was a quiet period for a little while, but I still wanted to leave a comment or two because, if it sparks me, let other people know. So, I didn't expect for the comment to resonate enough for them to actually get into talking reach, so to speak, I'm going to open this Discord server. Oh, this artist that I left the comments on their work had responded after a while. Some silence. Oh, there they are, actually speaking in the server. Oh, shit. I hope they actually want to talk. This could be fun. But it's been great. It's just little butterfly effect type thing. Yeah. So, that's really just simply how I came across their work, because I'm always looking for something new, and if the thumbnail looks like something that doesn't quite fit into what you're normally used to seeing, style or otherwise, that's it. Keep looking for new stuff.
Yeah, and I will say that your comment did leave a mark on me because, like, I was really gone for a long time. I think it was a number of years, actually, and I came back and I posted a thing, and, like, I saw your notification come up, and I was going, wow, that was the same dude who was commenting on my stuff from before, that I'm surprised that there was interest there like that. And that's really cool to see. So, like, hey, reminder that, artists really appreciate seeing those kind of comments, and, everyone should keep it up.
100%. That shit means the world to us, like, honestly. And I'm really glad that was how it kind of struck you, because, seeing someone who, like, commented on your stuff before you had, like, your own quiet period for your own reasons, then you come back and they're still there, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get it. So I like to let people know. And look, man, if you want to see more stuff that you like, just a little bit will have them maybe to do something. Even on a selfish basis, it's still good to just leave it. Make people feel good. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go figure. People want to hear when like you enjoy a thing and want to see more of it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that I did that. And again, it's a twofold thing. I'm always grateful for the people that decide that they want to go out on a limb and share their work, because you don't know what kind of response you're going to get, no matter how good or bad you think it is. It could be something that you didn't want, but you go and you share.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So getting involved with things the way you did, I'm glad that you're here with us. And, great decision. One of the best decisions I've made.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be where I'm at. I can say that, like, I've grown artistically in a way that I've never expected. Mm-hmm. I'm trying new things. I've met a lot of people, and they're very friendly. And, I'm curious to see where it ends, where it'll take me in the future.
No, I think that's really cool. And I feel like, and it's very clear, like, when you look at your gallery, like, your early stuff is bangers, to be clear, but it's so cool to see, like, the progression of your art, because I feel like you've really come into your own kind of style, and it's very distinct, too, which is nice.
Mm.
I feel like it's a combination of how you do your lines and how you do your shading, and then also, like, the subject matter that really, like, stands out. So I think it's pretty cool that you can, like, look at your gallery and see that kind of a progression, so...
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was honestly a little bit worried that, like... Thank you, Pi. He's my co-host. Anyway, I was worried that, like, when I had returned, I had taken a pretty clear route with my art, and I was worried that the interest wouldn't be there, because my old stuff used to be, like, really colorful, and I was kind of going for this painterly look, but then... when I came back, I was like, I want to go heavily into ink, because I've always really liked it, and I've just been going really deep into that. So I always wonder if, like yes, people enjoyed the old stuff, but do they enjoy the new stuff as much as they enjoyed the old stuff? Is there, like, people who wish I would go back to the original style or stuff like that? I don't know.
It's tough, because, like, I feel like we also put a lot of expectations on ourselves as artists to be like, I want to do the thing that I want to do, but also I'm thinking about the reaction to it. And so I think that's a really good point about, like, you wanted to come back and do art on your own terms, but you're also like, oh, but, like, what if people don't like it though? And, like, I feel like that's such a constant struggle for artists in general. And, we all kind of, as we move through our own artistic journeys, I feel like we eventually settle on mindset to some degree, but it takes time, and it takes a lot of working through a lot of, like, potentially toxic relationships with the medium itself.
Absolutely. Well, I guess if I think about it in a way that I would tell somebody else, stick with the thing that you want to do and don't worry so much about what gets attention. So I'm going to follow my own advice.
Yeah, I mean, we're all very good at, like, giving advice, and then sometimes we don't necessarily follow it. So I'm guilty of that too.
Yes.
Let's be clear. I spit hard truths, but sometimes the pussy doesn't listen to his own advice. So, but, like, no, it's legit. It can be tough. It can be tough out there. I'm curious then, actually. So, we talked a little bit about how you found TF, and then, like, how, like, you took a break and then you came back, and then, you started to get, like, repeat, like, comments and even, like, commissions. I know that as you've kind of gone on your artistic journey, you've also become a lot more comfortable expressing yourself from, like, a not safe for work perspective. And so I was curious to talk a little bit about that too, because, and, like, we've covered this topic, I think, before a little bit with another guest, but, like, I always find that a really interesting perspective, particularly because for me, I kind of went through a similar thing, but it was, like, very quick, and then I was like, okay, I'm just fine with it, dicks everywhere. But, like, it's also obviously a very personal topic, and it's a very personal approach, particularly when you often maybe use yourself as, like, the reference, or, like, the model or what have you. I think you know what I mean. And so I'm curious to like where the initial perspective started and then like how you got to where you are now. So maybe we'll just talk a little bit about like where you started and like why you didn't necessarily feel comfortable with that kind of like element in terms of like depictions.
Okay, so it's a difficult topic and it's not lighthearted, but to be blunt, I grew up with a lot of childhood trauma in various forms, and that kind of shaped my relationship with anything sexually related. On top of abuse, there was also like pretty heavy push for Christianity in my life, and my parent was pretty devout, and she sent me to like Christian school when I was in middle school, and we had to like memorize the Bible and go to daily sermons and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know this, but they're not pretty like okay with like out there sexuality either. Yeah. Never mind like anything queer related. Through the years, I've kind of grappled with that. Eventually, I came to terms with the fact that I myself am a queer person. I'm bisexual, I'm non-binary, and like I've slowly recovered and become a person who can enjoy things sexually. But I think on the art spectrum, I had not really addressed that because there was a pretty clear avoidance of anything sexual for what I would be willing to draw. But then, you know, I joined the TF community and I make a lot of great friends, and they are consistently drawing sexual TF stuff, and they are very comfortable with it. And it was great to see, honestly. But it also made me a little bit uncomfortable at first, if I'm being honest. And I had to take a step back and be like, well, why does this make me uncomfortable on, like, outside of the obvious? Like, obviously, I have some old traumas and stuff, but, like, why does it make me uncomfortable on a personal level? And I came to the realization is because there was a part of me that really wanted to dig into that. I wanted to draw these things. I want to draw some fucking giant tits transforming. Like,
with luscious nip knobs. It's very important.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So, you know, I had some support from one of my partners to start digging into that. And on my own, I started doodling some things. And then from there, I started doing art trades. And then the idea of, like, maybe I could put this up on my Patreon and, like, kind of get comfortable with the idea of, like, some people outside of myself and, like, a select few enjoying this. And it's only been recently that I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just put it out there. I've put a lot of work into this and I enjoy it. And, like, it's fun to make this shit. And I want other people to see it. So that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome.
I was going to say that I think a lot of people underestimate what it takes for some people to just draw porn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like such a simple thing to do. You do it when you do it, and you improve and all that stuff. But it's also why you got to respect what people are doing and why, and the fact that they're willing to be public at all in any way about it. You may not think as a viewer that they fucking, I don't know, it's just a lot of feelings. You got to be respectful of what it is and that it's actually part of somebody's actual expression. It may seem trivial or trite or just crass, but it's real. It's a real thing to consider and respect for people.
Oh, yeah.
I think Bear is a really good example of why when somebody draws porn on the internet, this shouldn't be just a reason to dismiss it or to talk shit about it. The simple fact that it exists.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that's funny to me is I think a lot of people, more often than not in this community, expect that people are okay with just not safe for work content. Like, they just expect everyone to kind of be okay with it. And, like, it's kind of counter to society, but not really, but kind of, in the sense of, like, you know, generally speaking, yes, there's a lot of, like, sexualized stuff out there in the media we consume and everything, but it's all towing a very specific line, whereas, like, a lot of the stuff that's made in furry spaces and TF spaces is obviously very explicit. And so it's a weird, like, flipping it on its head of like, oh, we just expect everyone to be okay with that. And it's like, no, actually a lot of people who are interested in this space have like either no interest in that, or they have an interest with that, but they don't want to express it, or they have an interest in that, but they have trauma about it, and so they need to process it. Like, there are so many different reasons why someone wouldn't necessarily want to produce that kind of content. And I feel like more often than not in the community, people act like surprised more than anything when you don't. I get where people are coming from, but also like, I hope that when people encounter that, they're respectful about it. I mean, I haven't seen too many people be disrespectful about it, but I do always note there's like a moment when you like, if you were to say to someone like, oh, I only do safe for work content, of course, depending on the person, but like for a lot of people, there's like this moment of like a glimpse of confusion. And like, that's fine. That's like a normal reaction that we've all kind of got. But like, I would hope at least that people would be more understanding of that as we kind of move forward as a community, because again, I see a lot of people who like, you know, when it's an artist who only does safe work, people being like, but like, could you do this though, just like one time, it's just the tip. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, come on guys, like, come on. I don't know.
Yeah, thankfully I haven't had too many people be pushy about that. Okay. But I did notice, and I was surprised by the amount of people who were like almost uncomfortable with the fact when I put up my boundaries and I was like, nah, I don't do that kind of stuff. Like, I just want to keep it safe for work. And that's just what I'm comfortable with. They'd just be like, really? Why don't you do that? Well, I appreciate your curiosity, but also like, I'm not going to get into it with you, person I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not here to have that conversation with you. You're a client. What the fuck, man?
Why not? I did also have one specific client, and I'm not going to name any names, but there was a pushing of that boundary several times. And you know what? People who are in the same position, I want you to feel comfortable with saying no. And if you're not comfortable with something and someone keeps pushing, you don't have to give in to that. Yeah. Do what you're comfortable with, and don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, that's such an important point. I feel like, you know, the TOS and like wills and won'ts draws, that's there for your information for you to take in and accept if you want to make a commission. It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge to be like, how can I like get around this will and won't draw in a way that technically is in the like letter of what's written but violates the spirit. It's like, no, buddy, like if you're going to do that shit, then maybe we're just not going to let you commission us. Like, that's just how it works. Like, you are not owed art. That is not how any of this works. I don't know. I hear stories like that and it makes me upset because I have dealt with that myself too, where people are like, but can you do this? And I'm like, I'm happy to have a conversation about it. But once I've said I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. Like, that's the end of the conversation. And again, it's not a challenge. It's not something that should be pushed on. We talk about like, oh, you know, push your boundaries sometimes, but not with commissions. Like, that's not the place, not the time. Do not do that to other people. That is no bueno.
Respect. Yeah, you have to respect it. Sorry, I just want to insert this. Just know that, yes, without the artists, the content creators, anything like that, the people who are making for things to commune around in what you think is a community, you have nothing. You literally have nothing without the people who use their creative energy and decide they're going to share it with anybody who decides to look at it. Respect that at all times. There are some people who be like, oh, duh. No, but really think about how without the depictions and the sweat and the tears and sometimes blood that people actually put into making this stuff, you would have not been taken to these places. You wouldn't have met these people. You wouldn't have made the choices that you made. You don't have shit without the artists and the creators. So remember that and keep that perspective in check. If you are going to feel like maybe you need to sort of finagle them into making them do shit. And if I seem hostile to you, it's because, I don't know, I'm going to go on a limb and say that all of us in this conversation right now have had to deal with that kind of shit.
Yes.
more than once.
Yes.
Where you wonder if the reading comprehension is there or if you're really trying to be slick. They're not that fucking smart.
Yeah.
Fucking get a clue.
Well, let's be honest. Most people don't read terms of services. And that frustrates me to no end.
Yeah.
Back to an old episode that we also discussed that, read the fucking terms of service. Fucking please. Spoilerplate shit.
It's there for both of us.
Yeah.
It's not just to protect the artist. You're figuring out if this artist is right for you. And if they say that they don't want to draw the things that you want to fucking have commissioned, then okay, you can save yourself a bunch of time and hassle and move on.
Yeah, and go to someone who will, because there will always be
Yes.
someone who will do whatever it is you're looking for. Like, the internet is just so wide and vast. It is a statistical impossibility that there isn't someone out there who will draw it. So...
All right, I have one more tip that people will not consider. If you're looking for like TF art and nobody wants to draw your thing, look for somebody who's not a throbbing quotations TF artist. Find somebody else who will just draw the fucking thing. That's it. It's very simple. Look outside. Don't be like a fucking community inbred and actually go outside of the fucking circle for once.
Community inbred?
Yeah.
That's
it.
very harsh. I'm going to say that's pretty harsh.
It is. No. Listen to me.
What's wrong with supporting just the TF artists that we love and see on a daily basis?
No, you are missing the point.
Okay.
Don't you do that to me.
Okay.
I'm saying that if you're not finding anybody in the community who seems to want to do it,
that's fair. Yes.
Go out of the circle. Go out of the pool. Dry yourself off. Say hello to somebody. Put a shirt on,
Incredible extended metaphor. Thank you. I will validate, though, like what you just said. I've definitely done that before in terms of commissioning people who, go into an artist who I thought had a cool style and be like, you do TF? You got a little of that TF? You got a little of that TF for me? And they were like, yeah, I can do it. That's fine. And like, even just like, I've done that sometimes commissioning furry art. I've seen people who like only really draw humans, and I've been like, furries though? And they're usually pretty chill with it. Like, there's some who don't, and it's like, okay, cool, I'll move on. But yeah, I feel like people who are like not necessarily within the TF community can be a lot more open and understanding to those kinds of commissions. Because to be honest, I feel like, especially in this day and age, most artists, even if they don't really know what you're talking about, if you ask them, they'll go and do like some quick research and be like, oh, okay, I understand what this is now. And then can actually tell you whether or not they'd be like suited for that kind of a thing. So
just talk to people.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Talk to Bear. Leave a comment on somebody's stuff that you don't know. Then, good, incredible things happen as a result.
But Libra, in one of the episodes, I told people not to talk to me, and that was very serious and very legit.
True. They did say, fuck off, don't talk to me.
I'm sorry that
It was that specific wording. I remember it because I was editing that episode and I burst out laughing. It was great. And then I think Pez said that her address was like the address to fucking the FBI headquarters or something.
The CIA headquarters.
Yeah, CIA.
So I'd want to say that this is my public cancellation. This is where I will be destroyed publicly, as I am a hypocrite and going against, all things I'm saying. I pushed a boundary. They said, don't talk to me. And I did. And I continued to do so after that.
Can't believe you.
And this is proof positive that I am a disgusting, manipulative piece of shit. Go ahead, find it. Clip me.
Oh my god.
It's true. I can't believe you would do this.
Can't believe you've done this. Can't believe you've done this.
Can't believe you've done this.
Fucking hell.
Fucking minging. It's fucking minging.
Fucking minging.
Suck your dad. I love that. I love that video. So I'm curious as well, actually, about one thing in particular before we move off this topic. I think one of the things that I noticed in particular when you were getting more comfortable with the not safe for work content was that you started by getting more comfortable with it with like yourself being the person in question instead of other people. And I've often seen people do it the other way. Like they're like, I'm okay potentially with like drawing the nip nops on someone else, but me, perish the thought. And so I was curious how you feel about, I guess, that like approach that you took. And I know you've talked a little bit about how like that was like partially because you were healing from trauma and that was kind of a way to do it for you. But I'm curious how you think about that approach versus the other approach I've mentioned, because I've seen a lot of people actually do that approach, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, no shade against anybody who does it the other way. But for me personally, it feels so disconnected. Like, of course I'm going to pull from myself first. Because I don't know this other person.
Yeah.
I don't know this other character. They're not me. I want to depict myself. And that's pretty much the beginning and end of it for me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think that's cool nonetheless, though, because, like, I don't know, I've noticed, and maybe this is my own biased pool of art, but I seem to see more people do that than your approach, and so that's always kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. You could also say that I'm like a fucking art narcissist, where my first main subject is myself all the time.
I'm the same way. No, I would not say that. I mean, you look at my fucking gallery, it's almost all like fucking manips of myself and my dick. So like, trust me, I think you're fine.
What are you going to be doing with art other than expressing yourself most of the time? How you're feeling is the art itself.
No, it has to be commissioned. It has to be commissioned 24/7. Only commissions, no fun.
Please kill me.
Oh my god, I feel bad for people who will. It's like I just like that it makes people happy. I'm like I really hope that's the supplement and not actually the whole of your diet. It makes me think of the people who want to have things happen to them versus happen to other people. Sometimes it's not exactly the matter of an inner struggle or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's also kind of like a touch and go if you make somebody who has characteristics that you seem to clearly have. You know, it's like a really interesting spectrum, and depending on patterns that you notice, if you have a character that you like to use, you know, And so I suppose that when I see the same kind of character over and over again, is that something for the self, for other people, all that?
Yeah.
For me, it's mostly for me. I mean, if other people enjoy it, then like, cool, bonus. But I'm doing this for me.
Yeah. And I think that's good. I mean, like you've both said, like that is kind of and should be the primary focus of an artist. Like your whole point of doing art is supposed to be to express yourself. And obviously, you know, some of us do commissions to like help pay the bills and all that stuff, and that's good too, but that's not supposed to be the primary focus. I'm calling myself out right now.
Zil, how could you do this?
I know. I'm terrible. But speaking of, you know, personal stuff and personal projects, I was a little bit curious to ask a bit about the comic that you've been working on, because I know that you've been working on a comic. It's a very good comic, and it's been, I think, primarily shared through Patreon so far.
Correct.
And so I was curious to hear a little bit more about where the idea came from and how you've kind of gone about depicting it, because it's been a really well done and like pretty detailed project.
Thank you. I'm probably going to give a little bit of a disappointing answer in that I didn't really have an idea for this. I just kind of went into it blind. But I will say that I have like a big history with loving comics, and like I remember getting into like superhero comics when I was younger, and then I really got into Hellboy, and I like purchased all of the fucking comics, and I have all the physical ones. And they're thick as fuck, and I love them still to this day.
Hell yeah.
And from there, I moved into reading a lot of webcomics. I think I'm up to like somewhere in the 300 area of the amount that I have read and have bookmarked and kind of keep an eye on.
Holy shit. That's incredible.
There's so much out there, and there's so much good art, and it's so fucking inspiring.
Yeah. And
that shit just made me want to like try it out at some point. So I was like, I'm going to try to give this a shot. I've been wanting to for a long time, and, like, I'm not getting any older. Who cares? Let's just do it. I'll figure it out on the way. So I kind of pieced together a short little story, and I wanted it to be about, like, this character goes into the woods, and like, she forgets that, today's the day of the full moon. Like, what happens next? Mm-hmm. And I wanted it to be from the perspective of a character that is used to this kind of stuff. Like, it's not a shocking thing. It's more, like, frustrating and a little embarrassing, because, like, how can you fucking forget? And I almost wanted to treat it like any other kind of... I hate to call it, like, compare it to an illness, but, like, the first thing I think of is, like, if you have diabetes, you need to take your insulin on time every day.
Yeah.
So, just, like, that level of concern, and, like, it doesn't weigh heavily on this person's life anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was actually going to say one of the things that I thought about from that concept is, like, it's a big ADHD mood, too. Because my first thought was, like, forgetting something that's crucially important and will genuinely impact your life in a negative way if you forget. Wow, I've never encountered that before. Stares into the mirror. So I don't know. I thought it was cool from that perspective too.
Yeah, I hope if anything, like, people can resonate with that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, on a silly short comic idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just fun. The thing that I like to hold on to when it comes to storytelling is the idea that you are on the adventure too. Having everything meticulously planned is fine. It is not for everybody to do, and it's also not how some of the best stuff happens.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can't account for your best ideas when you have some sort of long-form way of telling a story. And I know this comic that you're working on isn't necessarily this great big epic with arcs and, some other kind of thing happening, but bigger things also spawn from these one-offs. A character, hey, I did this little scenario and I just want to move them into this idea and see how that works. The whole point of bringing that up being, it's great that you went ahead and decided to just do it, and that your plan was kind of loose and subject to change, but that's what we want to see anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
We all love a little change. Ho ho ho. Hee hee hee. Ha ha ha. Polite laughter,
Hee hee. But yeah, I will definitely say that, I plan on doing much more in the future. I'd love to at some point, like, do a long form comic, and on top of that, I'd love to do, like, some NSFW comic stuff. Those would probably be shorter as well, but kind of just throwing everything together and seeing what happens.
Oh, whoa.
Oh,
plenty of time to craft stories and things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was curious, how do you approach, like, the paneling stuff? Because that's the one thing that, and I know we've had a few people who do comics on, and I feel like everyone has, like, a slightly different perspective. But the thing to me that always blows my mind is, like, how people fit in, like, the different elements onto a page with the paneling, and, like, deciding what you want to kind of focus on, and also then fit into, like, one physical page, because, like, if you're doing a sequence, oftentimes you can just kind of do whatever. I don't, like, you know what I mean? It's like you can just position it however you want, but, like, with a comic, you have to think about, there's a standard page size, and you have to fit everything, or at least what you want to fit on that one page, on that page. And you don't really have a lot of other things you can do besides obviously changing what you depict. So I was curious to hear, like, how you think about that.
Shit. I don't really know, to be honest.
That's fair. It just comes to you?
Well, it's just kind of like, when thumbnailing, I kind of just throw things at the screen, because I do everything digitally, and I just see what works. There's a lot of also keeping in mind that you're not going to be able to depict everything at once, and a lot of it's going to be filled in by the reader's imaginations. And also, you have the previous or following pages to kind of fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm trying to do is focus in on readability, in that positioning and, like, actual, like, posing in the frames will kind of guide your eye from one place to another.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've gotten that down just yet, but that's something that I'm trying to do.
And the fact that you're thinking about it and like trying to keep it in mind, I think speaks to like the willingness to learn and like, you know, to try something and then see what lessons you kind of learn from that. I mean, so much of art is just like, I'm going to fucking do the thing. And even if it's not great on the first time, I'll learn something from it. And I think that's a really good attitude to have. Also, your stuff is fascinating and really good already. So please don't feel like you're not nailing it. But I get what you're saying, though. Like, you're like, I have this vision in my mind, and maybe I feel like I'll look back and be like, I could have done this, this, or this. But you do it first, and then the learning comes from doing the thing. So
absolutely, yeah. I went into this fully expecting that this was going to be a learning project, and like people enjoying it is even better. But first and foremost, I'm trying to figure out how to do this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's also a really good way to explore what it is you come to really like in transformation content, because this is still part of the journey. Because when you first started, I think I mentioned this before to you in other conversations, that it kind of started off with like a particular kind of vibe, and it's sort of evolved a bit. Overall, you have the experience planned out, and that's coming to fruition, but there are some things now and there, and you just decided to course correct on a couple of things that you added in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of it being a little bit more horny. That was not intended, but now it's there.
Yeah. And we have the most beautiful nipple shading to grace the planet. I'm sorry. I know I keep joking about it, but like I also mean this very seriously and genuinely. Bear, you do an amazing job with nipples. Like it's just the truth. And if y'all disagree with me,
made into a nipple sexual by this art, I say.
Listen. What? I've always been big on nipples. Okay, I'm just saying. Yes.
Okay. See, I didn't know this about you.
If you want to hear the story as to why, you can join our Patreon. You're a little
defensive about it, but I mean, I haven't seen you go off on nipples. I've heard you go off on other things, but here we are.
Listen, bussy is just funnier to say. Like, it rolls off the tongue. There's a je ne sais quoi about it that really draws me in.
Yeah, but now you got nip knobs.
Yeah, I got nip knobs too, which is great. So
okay, so let me commiserate with you, my friend.
Okay.
You know, I love thinking about various kinds of nipples, you know, the feel, the look, do they have a little bit of puff, you know, all those kind of things. They really do matter to me. Yeah. And I think, you know,
do you have multiple?
Multiples can be very fun.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. Yes, they can. But, you know, something that's very biteable, something that fills the mouth a little bit more easily.
Yeah.
Or something that something that is like a little nub, but, you know, don't ignore it.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's there for you.
And sometimes the best ones can, like, you know, you might not get as much enjoyment, but you just grace it a little bit with your touch, and you see the reaction it has on the other person, and you're like, this is the good shit right there. That's the fucking
firm
good shit.
Tug.
Yes,
you know,
firm tug. Yeah.
It's great to deal with nipples.
Yeah. They belong to everyone. Free the nipples, everyone, please.
Yeah.
Y'all can't see it right now, but I am fucking Pete, right?
I'm just saying, if everyone got a little tata in their mouth, they'd be better. I'm just saying. Like, come on, guys. Like, please.
Don't be looking for big titties and then not know what to do.
Yeah.
Try to learn, figure
Tongue
it out.
on nip nop, okay? Tongue on nip nop. That's my controversial take. Tongue on nip nop, okay?
That's
Can I get an amen?
Controversial take.
Apparently it is.
What? Really? No, who's giving you that?
Who's disagreeing? Give us names.
I don't like the mess.
Oh God! Now I'm thinking back to an awkward experience in university. Let's not get into that.
Well,
that's if you join my Discord, you can hear that story. Pay me money, and you can hear my awkward sex in university story.
Oh, so it's that painful. Like you kind of wanna, but you. All right, so back to nipples. My controversial take is teeth on nipples, okay?
That is more controversial, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
I approve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you think that is a little too much to handle, you can comment about it, and then you can I don't know, if you're gonna argue with me, you'll be wrong.
I'm just thinking of like that meme,
it'll just be fun to watch you be wrong.
I'm just thinking of that meme though, where you're like, you start showing something and you start like getting the like audience being like, oh, and then you show like the final thing and then everyone like freaks out screaming. So I propose to you, teeth on nipples, oh, monster teeth on nipples. The crowd goes wild. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because a little shot, got the teeth right there, kind of grazing it, and then they get a little bit, sharper, bigger. It's great.
Yeah.
See, this is the podcast that we do. If you're a normie and you're not accustomed to this, again, we are perfectly equipped and ready to discuss these things properly with you, unlike certain large sub channels.
But seriously,
who do little hit pieces on like furry content all the fucking time.
But like seriously, I also like, we talk about all this stuff very freely because that is how we should approach these things. And again, everyone's in their own points in their journeys, to harken back to what we were just talking about like being comfortable with not safe for work stuff. Everyone's on their own path and their own journey, and I respect that. But also, when we make this, we are also being authentic to ourselves too, and we're very positive about this kind of thing. And I feel like not a lot of people, again, get to hear people talk about that in their ear holes about, what we like to do to the nip nop, like that's just that's the kind of content you come here for. And I think it's an important part of transformation stuff too. Like, to call back to the multi-nip stuff, like there are a lot of people who are really into that. And like, obviously there is a basis to some degree in the anatomy of certain animals, but also people throw the multi-tits onto anything. And like, that's fine. If that's your thing, I support you. Go out there, get your tatas of many varieties. Like, I support this.
Okay. So to just kind of bring this a little closer to the guest again, there's finding the space to be an adult about it, to discuss adult topics, and becoming comfortable about it. You're not opening yourself up to be tickled by other people, but you want to be able to actually be like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yes.
And people I think need to understand that. And I think it would also make it healthier, because I think that a lot of people in this fandom have a very difficult time separating the concept from the fact that it gets them off, and they'll think that if they bring it up to anybody, whether they're aware of this community or not, that they're somehow going to think that, oh, I'm a sexual deviant. Yeah. When this kind of goes over your head.
Yeah, and there's lots of normies who are into this kind of shit. I mean, like, not obviously in the monster sense or whatever, but like, they are. And again, when these things don't get discussed, then it like makes them stigmatized. And like you said, then if you want to like talk about that, it's like, oh, well, now I'm the sexual deviant. And it's like, bro, like nipple play is like fucking in the ground in terms of like level of like controversial like thing. Like, I'm like, you see it in fucking porn, and normie people do it all the fucking time. Like my friend, my sibling in the light, it is such a normie thing.
Yeah, and so it's another thing that I think is good, that you were able to find the ability for yourself to want to do this stuff and share it. Yeah, because it's not easy for you.
Yeah,
no, it was a huge struggle, and I'm glad to overcome it, and I don't know. I hope that anybody else who's going through something similar can like be vocal about this kind of shit and have people understand. And it's not really, doesn't have to be awkward or weird. Yeah.
It all starts with us to destigmatize it, I guess. And also, like, for the people who aren't there, that's also entirely reasonable. And you can be like, hey, this is my boundary. I don't want to talk about that. And that should be respected too. I think that so many people just struggle to find the right balance in terms of how to talk about these things. And at the end of the day, like, my genuine advice would be like, if you feel comfortable about it, I encourage you to be more open about it. If you're not comfortable talking about it, you don't have to talk about it. And that's okay too. Just find the approach that works best for you and let other people take their own approach as well. I think that's the like key lesson, actually. It's like, do what works for you and let other people do what works for them. because we're all at different points in our journeys. And some of us don't want to be horny posted at, and others would like to talk about bussies. You can fall on either side of the spectrum. So I just like saying the word, I swear to God.
Yeah, you really, really fucking do.
It's a great word. Like, anyways, whatever.
It's okay, Zil. We also support you saying bussy like 20 times in one sentence.
This is a bussy-friendly zone. I appreciate that.
The only reason this got weird for me was just like, I like saying it. I'm like, yeah. You do?
I do. It's true.
Why did you?
Well, so I want to circle back to the comic though for a second. As much as I enjoy this,
bussies are circle shaped.
Oh my God. One thing I want to talk about with the comic, we've talked a little bit about the like surprised reaction, which is a whole mood, or like not surprised, but like, like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot kind of thing. And in terms of like the progression of the changes, like it feels like it was very deliberate, but I know you said you kind of went into it blind. So when you think about like, if you're doing a comic or what have you, and again, this is a personal project, so it's totally up to you. How do you decide like what the next thing is that's going to change?
That's actually an interesting question. I think internally I kind of have like a tier of what I think would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like maybe the ears start pointing, and then maybe like the claws start growing in, and then you get like muscle growing in on the arms, and then like the legs, and like then bones start snapping, and pie is also in this conversation. Hello, thank you.
Just punctuating each thing. Let's make it official that people understand that Pi is their pet bird, and you're just going to have to learn to love Pi.
Pi is the baby.
He's the baby.
The baby.
He's got lots of things to say, and no, I cannot tell him to shut up.
That's okay. We love him. This is our new substitute for the crow from season 1 is Pi.
I'm good with this.
If you understood where that joke came from, you may be eligible for a veterans discount. Anyways, continue.
But yeah, like I said, it's just like an internal tier list.
Yeah.
I have thought about like swapping it up in like the next comics, like turning things on its head for me. Like what would be weird for me to start off, like maybe face changes, like the muzzle starts pushing out like almost immediately. That would be interesting. Maybe the spine is like coming out almost immediately, or something else. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I think why I find it so interesting as well is I personally, as an artist, have done very few sequences because they're kind of daunting for me. And the ones that I've done, I often was like looking to other pieces of art to kind of determine how I would do like kind of progression. So when I see people do sequences, and particularly when they're doing it for themselves, not like for commissions, when I see people do like personal art of sequences, it's just so interesting to me because you kind of get a sense of, like you were saying, the artist's kind of internal like tier list or hierarchy to some degree. And I think everyone that I've seen, when they do like personal pieces, generally they do a very good job of like making it seem like it makes sense no matter what the order is. There's like a flow to the art and such. But I find it interesting that in our heads we kind of sometimes have that tier list because they're all different from each other. It's not like one person sat down and was like, yes, I'm going to like plan out my tier of whatever. Like it just kind of like comes to us from like our own exposure to transformation material and our own interests. And I think that's kind of cool that we all kind of have our own take on like what is the right order to do these changes in, because it's not something we like actively think about, I think, but it is something that just ends up getting expressed in art. So
yeah. So anybody listening to this should comment below what their tier list or hierarchy for transformation is.
Yeah, I would love to hear that, honestly. Because again, it's so different for everyone. It's just like, I don't know how we settled on this, but there it is.
Yeah.
Gotta have a tailsplosion in there for me. I don't know what point it falls in, but I gotta have the tailsplosion.
I don't get the appeal in that at all.
You don't get the tailsplosion?
Absolutely not. You know how people complain about poofs and everything? It's just Like, why are you spending it so fucking quickly?
I have a question for you. Why do you have bad taste?
Damn.
How did you have such a good idea, but then just you got to be able to accept that two things can exist at once, even if they're contradictory.
Yeah.
So you have the idea for this show.
It's dialectical thinking.
But you're giving me this shit about how I have bad taste.
Uh-huh.
You need to get a fucking clue and understand other people's perspectives for once, why don't you?
Oh, no, it's just yours I'm making fun of. Everyone else can have theirs. It's just you.
I mean, I know, but I guess this is just another instance of people not accepting the fact that I'm different, and you motherfuckers just aren't comfortable with that. You don't like my tone? You don't like what I like? Oh, fuck, man. Certainly
no, on
something
this
wrong with
front,
me.
I'm just sorry. Tailsplosions are the best. I'm sorry.
I don't fucking get it,
I
man.
make the rules. Don't you understand? I make the rules, and I'm telling you, you're incorrect.
I can start crafting my own logic where it's just like, a cum shot of the spine, but,
A cum shot of the spine? What does that even mean?
What it means is that if it's such a satisfying, gratifying experience that you absolutely must have, it's like a cum shot.
Oh, I see.
Because that too is very quick and people really want it.
Because when you said a cum shot of the spine, the thing that came into my mind is like someone depicting like someone shooting out their C4 and C5 vertebrae, and I'm like, what? What? How would that? You know what? Okay. But okay, no, genuinely, you were saying that you don't like tailsplosions because you feel like it's like spending it too quickly, right?
Yeah, it's just because it just happens. Like suddenly a tail pops out of your clothing and there's no enjoyment to a build up or a payoff. It's just like tail, like, but fucking okay.
Isn't the build up
fine.
Having it like start to grow within the clothing and then start to strain more and more and more? Like I would quantify that as the build up.
But that's not explosive. Then that doesn't count as a tailsplosion, an explosion.
The explosion is when it finally explodes out of the pants.
The idea of an explosion to me is a sudden burst of unstoppable energy, which if there's like a growth and you see like, the nub or whatever, I don't consider that an explosion really. I mean, it can build to an explosion, but a tailsplosion, I also don't like the term.
Okay, because when I think of a tailsplosion, it's kind of more like what I described. It's not like the tail just comes like shooting out at Mach 5. It's more like there's a
but that's what I've seen.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
okay. So this is another one of those. It's just like I like identity. And I'm like, no, you don't. That's not what it is. And you're like, I like tailsplosions. I'm like, that's. I think a lot of
people would say that what I'm saying is indeed tailsplosion.
I have legitimately seen just like, from clothing to tail burst out of clothing, and that's like tailsplosion, and I'm like, fucking fine, whatever. I don't get it.
That's fair.
It's just like crick crack and you see the thing, whatever, and it's just like poof from there. I'm like, well, there was something.
I think the ones with the buildup are chef's kiss. That's what I like. I like it when
then you see now we find common ground.
Okay, there we go.
So it's fun to listen to the argument at first, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're just shooting this shit, But I'm very glad that I can gift back to you your good taste card because you dropped your Crown King. I agree with you on this front. So,
what you think that? I like to think that you enjoy my art. What the fuck?
I do. No, I'm saying we came to an agreement on the tailsplosion thing, which you don't think is a tailsplosion, which is fine. Well, whatever.
Argue with me and lose.
There's no winning and losing.
To my hard logic, no. I'm in front of people.
Honey.
I need to be right.
No, baby. I win with emotions. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just how it works.
I was very flat and even in my logic, and I showed no emotion in this.
That's true. Clearly. Yeah. Just all repressed. But no, genuinely.
We have a guest.
we do have a guest. I'm sorry, Bear.
No, I'm enjoying this. Keep going.
Bear's just like, this is a normal Thursday night with these fucks.
It's true. I'm happy to hear you guys bicker anytime.
Yeah.
The tailsplosion thing.
Yeah, how do you feel about tail stuff?
I'm kind of, if there's build up, I think it's pretty good. Just tailsplosions on their own don't really do anything for me. That's about it.
Okay.
That's fair.
So would you agree that my idea of it, where it's like there is clothing and then boom, tail like bursts through, like that's what I qualify for that term?
Okay.
I think it's too narrow.
I think it is a little bit too narrow. I will say that I have seen Libra's version more often than I have seen the like actual build up, where you can see the tail actually growing in under the clothing and stuff. I think they both count as tailsplosions.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, all right. So before I let it go completely, I just want to make everybody understand that the reason I have this impression is when people have drawn just art of the tail having exploded, it really just is a panel or an image of them like, whoa, and they have a full-on tail of whatever it is they're turning into. So the implication also with the term of explosion being in there is there was, and then in the blink of an eye, now there is this thing. So there you go. So it's a very instant thing. That's where I get that impression from, because the art shows it. The art strongly implies that this whole like a nub starts to build and there's pressure and then a release, which sounds nice to me, isn't there with that concept for me. Does everybody get it now?
So you're saying that like a fully formed tail just shot out of somebody's ass?
Yes, that's what the term implies to me and what I've seen.
That is not what I think of, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to do like the whole low explosive, high explosives. When we're looking at something blowing up, it looks the fucking same.
Yeah.
There's no low tailsplosion and high tailsplosion.
Well, actually, sorry, I will counter that, because I will say I have seen low tail explosion, and that's when like the explosion is like much slower and like almost delayed, in the sense that you get more of like the clothes that are like still trying to cling on to the tail as it's like emerging. Like you get more of a slow rip instead of like a sudden explosion.
I don't, that betrays the idea of explosive force. It's supposed to be quick and unstoppable.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's a fair point.
That's kind of why I was trying to say that, you know, the build-up thing is antithetical to the idea of an explosion. That's it.
All right.
Can we do an episode of Tailsposions or something? If anybody wants to hear that, we can argue about that for an hour and a half.
There are a lot of people. We could keep going, because I was about to like, the next thing I was going to be like feetsplosions. That's another one.
Let's just
be the same thing. So
let me just make some enemies then. Okay.
Okay.
I'll make
go
enemies
ahead.
of you all.
Got a lot of enemies trying to steal your energy.
Zil versus Libra, focusing on transformation explosions.
But yes, you said you wanted to make some enemies, so did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yes, you're the one who said
Yeah.
that.
You said, let me make some enemies. And then I went, okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
To add, Tailsplosions, yeah, I also don't get like the whole feet ripping through the shoes thing. And the more I think about it, okay, so you know how you started exercising, you're like, how do people do the thing where they get, you know, raging rock hard while also trying to push up like 500 pounds on their shoulders?
Yeah, I did come to that realization the moment I tried to work out, and I was like, this is the opposite of horny. How can anyone be horny during this? But yeah, sorry, go ahead. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, with you know, trying on cramped shoes, and I think to myself, oh yes, this is definitely like a bite my lip experience, with my feet straining against stitches that are meant to actually take your entire body weight and contain it and overcome it in case you like slip on your fucking ankle. Yeah, and the other thing for the selfish quality in me, you don't get to see shit. It's like bursting through the shoe.
Yeah,
I feel shortchanged.
Yeah,
you
do see a lot less. That's true. I still like it, but I get why you wouldn't like it. That's entirely fair, honestly.
It's I see the potential appeal in it. I just, for me, it's not really done in a very compelling way most of the time. That's it.
No, I think that's fair.
Especially since it's usually done, you know, at the seams, at the bottom of the shoe, where they're really, really strong, where all the seams are really strong, and they just push it away from the sole, and I'm like, I can't get, okay, fine.
Okay, how would you depict it? If somebody had to wear a shoe and like it was
Okay, so first of all, it would have to be something that's very big, very, very big. And so it couldn't just be something like a I don't know, like a wolf paw or something, because I tend to think that people default to ripping things just because they're changing, when in reality you're probably just going to awkwardly slip out of it. You know what I mean? You're not going to have these altered hindquarters, you know, with your shoes all destroyed into literal shreds. They're going to like slip off of you or something like that. And so I think it would have to be something, you know, monstrous, you know, easy thing to think about is dragons and shit like that, because they can be impossibly strong, impossibly durable, so they can push through things like shoes and whatever. I mean, if you're going to have claws bursting through, why is it always got to be perfectly at the bottom of the seam? Why didn't it just come through and like really persevere through like the rest of the fabric at the top of the fucking toe? I don't know. Stuff like that. You could have a bunch of different angles, but people default to just like opening it up like a little mouth.
Yeah.
You know,
because it looks aesthetically pleasing.
Well, it's also very Looney Tuny.
Yeah, that's
Looney
true too,
Tunes.
actually. Yeah,
it's simple. I think it's simple to grasp. This is where thing meet, and now you break it.
Yeah,
but I'm also kind of like whatever on it.
No, I think that's fair. I understand your perspective, and even though I disagree, I respect it.
Openly, you respect it.
I do.
But privately.
Privately, I'm like, what the fuck? No, it's like, I get it. It's not for everyone. And also, like, from an artistic perspective, honestly, shoes are not the most fun thing to draw sometimes. And it's like, then you also have to like figure out how you're going to destroy them. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. So like, I get it from that perspective too.
I see a face about the not fun to draw from Bear.
dude, like I have 2 panels with boots in them, and that shit took me for fucking ever. I hate drawing shoes. I do. And that just means that I need to draw more of them, but
because you don't want to be defeated by them.
I don't want to be defeated by them. Fuck you, shoes.
Yeah.
Fuck your complexity.
Works for me. I like looking at people's art and trying to figure out how they pulled the whole shoe thing off without drawing it like a technical schematic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way, but it feels like it does.
It does. Sometimes it does feel that way, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that was a wonderful surprise segue that I didn't plan for. What I did plan for was some audience questions, and I have some delightful ones to share. So the first question I have is from Fire, and this is actually a part 2 to a previous question they asked. And so they say, imagine that you are like an evil wish granter, like an evil genie, basically, and someone has made a wish of you. How do you twist their wish into becoming whatever it is you want, like the thought process behind it?
How do you get somebody's else's wish to be twisted into your favor?
Yeah, I'll answer, and I'll kind of like to help. So if I was an evil genie and someone was making a wish for me and I wanted to twist it to transform them, because I'm just going to assume that's what I'm doing, because, I'm evil and everyone gets TF'd. I think I would pay attention particularly to the most ridiculous possible pun that I could make out of the wish, because then that will be my very flimsy basis to make it an evil thing. Obviously, you can look at like the little nuances of like, oh, like someone being like, I wish I was loved by everyone or something. And then you'd be like, aha, well, now I will turn you into a dog and you will be loved by everyone, which that's not actually true, but whatever. Put that aside for a second. I would find a lot of delight in looking for like someone who had like really particular syntax and like had thought they'd like, evil genie proofed their wish, and then being like, you forgot about this, therefore get fucked, you're a pool toy now, motherfucker. I'm just saying, it would be great.
Okay. I'm down for that.
How about you, Libra?
Screwing people over. I mean, I'm trying to think outside the box of how you would just embellish on little words, because you can liken a lot of things to animal characteristics if you want to.
Yeah.
And if you want to turn people into stuff, I mean, I'm sorry, I actually think it's a little too easy. even if you'd be like the boring version of an evil genie, where it's just like everything to do with this will always default into this kind of creature. You know, fuck you. The point is not for you to enjoy it anyway. But I don't know. I guess I can't really think of a very creative answer for that, especially since I'd have to be presented with situation. So I guess if you were to give me this well-worded idea and then see if I could pick it apart, but I just don't really have to think about it that hard, I think. That's why the previous question of how would you do it in such a way to get what you want was more interesting to me, because I'm already aware of the fact that if you screw around with wishes with something, then you get this literal or figurative interpretation out of your favor. So it's the challenge is the opposite already. So I'm sorry, I don't have a satisfying answer to that question.
I think that's fair. How about you, Bear?
I'm just going to be a total shit. I'm assuming that like anybody who came to me and their wishes were like specifically trying to avoid transformation, I'd just be like, it's opposite day, bitch. And no, you don't get to laugh that hard. That wasn't that funny.
No, it was. Because it's just like, no, fuck you, actually. Fuck the rules. That's great.
When is opposite day?
Yeah, I like that, actually. See, that's a subversion. Oh, you know, the clever twisting of your words. No. Just want to fuck with you. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't get to analyze this. There's nothing karmic. Just I'm upset today, and you happen to be bothering me.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So the next question I have comes from Guppy, and Guppy says, if you had to choose a native animal of your country or your nationality/nationalities to TF into, which one would you choose? I love this question. I'll go first. I have like 4 like different options to answer. So if I'm going based on Canada, because that's where I live now, blah, 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 moose, no question. Those motherfuckers are tough as hell. They have kick-ass antlers. They don't give a fuck. If you are going to try and like, you know, if it's a car versus a moose, the moose is going to win. And we love that for them. So moose, 10 out of 10. If I'm going by my like heritage, from Brazil, I'm playing on easy mode because I have the Amazon. So I'm going to say like a jaguar or a panther. Portugal, Iberian lynx, again, very easy choice. Denmark was actually the one that I was kind of struggling with a little bit. And then I remembered that because of colonialism, Greenland is technically part of Denmark. So I can pick like an Arctic fox. So those would be my picks.
That's spread, baby.
Yeah,
exactly. Wild. I don't know. Either of you can go next.
Okay. I'm going to have to break the fucking rules again. Guess which one. Guess which animal I would go with.
Could it be a bear?
Maybe. Yeah, it would be a bear. In America, bear. In Poland, bear. In Canada, bear.
Bear. It's great.
Yeah. They're just all over the place.
They are all over the place.
They are.
It's great.
Okay, so animals indigenous to Cuba, there's like interesting picks, and everybody who knows me more than like I don't know, just one conversation, like the frog thing. So there are 2 kinds of frogs. There's the Cuban tree frog, easy one to remember, and another one that's I'm not really sure how they want me to pronounce it. It's like Monte Iberia dwarf Elius or something. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 kinds of frogs. They look very pretty. The tree frog, the Cuban tree frog, looks very very hardy, so I like it. Mm-hmm. But I like the ground iguana. That thing looks like a little hefty tank beast.
Yeah.
Looks like you trudge your way through the day. So I don't know. Despite the frogs, I kind of like that idea. Mm-hmm. If I want to go with more regional stuff, New York, I will. Peregrine falcon sounds really good. I feel like the idea that they can just kind of go in and out of the city sometimes. You can spot those little guys in the heart of the city, but they just fly out of there into the woods. So I like the idea of being able to dip in and out of those kind of places, because I'd want to be able to be in the city, at least for a little while.
Hell yeah.
Great place to live. But those are the ones that resonate with me. So 2 frogs, but the ground iguana actually pulling ahead this time, and the peregrine falcon, because I know that they've been spotted in like Lower Manhattan and shit like that. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very solid answer. It's a good animal too, honestly. And then the last question I have here is from Kitsune Shapeshifter. And so Kitsune Shapeshifter asks, what is your favorite kink or theme that you like to see combined with TF? And what is a combo you don't see a lot of but want to see more?
Okay. So just examples of that. So we have a general idea of what they're looking for. Anything like that?
Yeah, so I guess if I was to give an example, it would be like bondage would be an example of like a kink that you might want to like see combined more with TF, and you don't really see like a lot of it in like TF spaces. That would be an example. I guess like for me, in terms of like my favorite kink or theme I like to see combined with TF, I think this one is very oversaturated. If you don't think it's oversaturated, you're wrong. I really like a lot of the like paw and foot stuff. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, it's very appealing to me, and there's a lot of that in TF, which I'm thankful for. So I like that one. I think the one that I like, but I don't see a lot of it depicted, that one's a bit tough, because I feel like there's a lot of kinks that are like present in TF and like present a lot of it, and maybe that's also partially because like you might go out and like look for it. But I guess one that I kind of like that I don't see a lot of is actually like living furniture type stuff, in the sense of like you don't see a lot of furniture TF in general anyways. But like that,
I can help you find some.
Oh no, I've seen a good chunk. It's just more like I don't think it's that common, and I would like to see more of that because I find it very interesting. And it can be interesting either as someone turning into the furniture or someone just like having to adopt the mindset. I think both of those are cool. So
if I'm not mistaken, I think the term is pornophilia, which I have run across a bunch of times, and I see it from Japanese artists.
Yeah. That's actually those are the people I have seen it the most often from, but it does not seem to have penetrated a lot of like Western art spaces. So,
but just to let you know, I mean, if you're looking for more, I could just spray some your way.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. I always appreciate a good spraying of content. So, But okay, what about you, Libra?
I really like muscles. They are a really... They can make something either very elegant, very strange, powerful. You can do a lot with muscles and transformation to set a tone.
Yeah.
And so I love seeing it. And it's also a pretty basic thing because, people turning into beasts often implies, like something drastic happening to how powerful they are. And we like to use muscles for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to talk about what I want to see more of, it's a lot more. I want to see more touch. That's why I like the idea of flesh crafting, where somebody can, mold and pull somebody's body into different shapes. I've seen more of that, like here and there over time, which is good. But even just like the general like passing of hands and bodies against each other to transmit their sensations to yours, because we can all think about what it may be like to turn into something and apply our standards for what sensations would occur. But what about the idea of what it feels like to be against somebody whose body is going under their changes? Do you feel heat? Do you feel sudden Do you feel sudden impacts? Do you feel, rippling undulations? Do you feel that is something that I would love to see more of? And as I'm getting these people very uncomfortably aroused on this call, I'm touching on something.
You are,
that's the idea. I want to touch on something because I'm not the one who usually wants to be turned into anything. I want somebody else to be undergoing that experience, and I want to be involved in it. And that means I literally want to feel it, but I want to feel them. So that's like part of an intimacy thing. All that stuff. It's part of the meaningless sensational crap,
Eddie Brock holding me against him as he turned into Venom with the symbiote would fix me. I'm just saying.
Why not?
Just all of you?
Yeah, it would fix me.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah, so if anybody else was really starting to feel a little something with me describing that, try to explore it. Ask other people questions you trust.
I agree.
or leave a comment with big blush emojis and emoticons.
We love that too. We do love that too. Okay, how about you, Bear?
I'm going to say ditto with the muscle thing because, hey, that stuff is appealing, and it doesn't matter what gender it is. Yeah. I like muscular people. I like seeing it. I like seeing it grow and stuff like that. But I also want to say that I really enjoy dom and sub positions.
Mm-hmm.
Like a monster who is in charge and like a smaller person who isn't, or vice versa. That could be interesting. Maybe we don't see as much of the latter, but who knows in the future. As far as things I would like to see more of, I personally would like to mess around more with drawing stuff like people transforming in shibari. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also like really sensual and like appealing visually to me, like especially like the red rope and everything.
Oh yeah.
I can see that because those borders would just be, you could use all that to accentuate a bunch of things that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with uneven shifts. This gives me ideas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Everybody yell at Libra to do some shibari art.
Yeah. Libra do shibari art.
I've never done it before. And I'm sure I'd...
Do it.
That's not the right kind of knot.
Do it.
Here we are today. We're going to be speaking about...
My ears!
Do it. You're doing it.
Oh God, no, we're not ASMRing.
Do it.
No.
Do your shit. Otherwise,
no.
We can't be friends.
Oh my God.
Uncomfortable ASMR where you get to hear people
I'm going to jump out of my skin. Okay. Bear had questions for us, so I want to turn the floor over to Bear now.
I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first question isn't related to TF at all, and I hope that's okay.
That's totally fine.
But, like, what is, for both of you, what is the first comic series that you, like, remember really, really getting into?
Digging into that one. Does like there's like a special event or something like that? Oh, manga,
webcomics, any kind of, those all count. Graphic novels.
I think it might be Death Note.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be Death Note. Yeah, because I didn't really grow up reading Western comics. That was never really a thing for me. It wasn't a phase I went through, and I only really keyed into it more when I was introduced to like manga. And to be clear, I haven't read very many of them, but yeah, Death Note was the first one I read. I actually really liked that series. It does drop off after L dies, but like it's still pretty good in my opinion.
Okay. Who is your favorite character?
Oh my gosh. What's their name? It's one of the there's like two of them that come in after L dies.
Right.
Fuck. What are their calls? One of them I think is called Near. Is it Near?
Okay. I have no idea. I've never read it.
Okay. I think it's Near. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I do really like Near. Also, I like Misa. I think she deserves the world. I'm just saying. I support women's rights and women's wrongs. So that's that on that.
Okay.
Man, I'm trying to think of like first comic series. It's kind of blurry because my relationship to comics was nearly non-existent. It was. I knew they were around, but it felt like something I could never break into. Money, space, where the fuck to start,
Okay, so how about like within what you can remember? It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure it out, and I almost feel like I didn't really get into a manga that much until a bit later, or was it even like Doctor Doom's stuff? But even then, like I don't know. I guess maybe that would count as a series because when I started to look up,
I think that counts.
Things revolving.
Yeah.
I know that I tried to read Excel Saga. No, I tried to read Excel Saga before I got into Doctor Doom's stuff.
What's Excel Saga?
Excel Saga is something that it's a manga and it's an anime, but I watched the whole anime before that,
Gotcha.
and it's a comedy series and it spoofs on different genres of stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And has this whole underlying plot. Doesn't take itself seriously. It's incredibly fucking loud and chaotic, and I still think it's funny. It has unreal, unearthly voice acting that you will never hear in any other show ever.
We love that.
So here's a fun fact. The English voiceover for the main character out of the 26 episodes was only able to perform 13, and she did not complete the other half because her doctor said that if she continued with this role, she would irreparably destroy her voice.
Jesus.
She could not keep doing it.
Wow.
And if you heard her, you would understand.
Okay.
I don't know how the Japanese do it because they have like mounted syllables on shit, and I'm like, wow, I'm just amazed that human tongues can do that. Hot, but also like but also really Excel Saga is a testament to just like fucking voice actors. Holy shit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's I think that's like a really great weird show. Won't be for everybody, but there's nothing like it. So, but I tried to read that manga and I didn't get too far. I think the stuff that I started to really dig into in terms of comics felt like, incidentally Marvel stuff, because I found Doctor Doom to be a fascinating character. I didn't know he had his own shit. He just always seemed like the villain for the Fantastic Four to beat up.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about you? What was like the first, I don't know. I like to know, like, was Hellboy your first like big break into it or what?
I remember really getting into like X-Men, but it was like scattershot. Like it didn't really matter which one I picked up. I just kind of wanted to read something X-Men related.
Yeah.
So none of it really made sense to me. It was just all contained in the issue for me.
Nice.
I don't know if that counts.
I think that counts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, weirdos being weird, trying to fight for their right to be weird, you know?
What, a civil rights fucking
Yeah.
allegory?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Fucking no way.
Go figure.
Can't relate to that. It's so woke
not.
back in the
Absolutely
90s.
not.
Are you trying to tell me that X-Men has gone woke?
Yeah.
Perish
Yes.
thought.
I'm gonna have to burn all my copies now.
Buy them. It's just buy. Spend your paychecks. Spend your pay. No, better yet, here, I have a suggestion for you people. Burning books is a thing of the past because digital preservation steps over all that dumb bullshit. So what I want you to do is I want you to subscribe on many accounts, empty your credit cards and empty your bank accounts, and keep deleting them from your hard drives. And I want you to record videos of yourself paying for digital content and deleting it from your hard drive to make a statement. Please do that, okay?
Yeah, that's very hurtful. That really sends the message.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
will teach them that you are spending your time to make that statement. Do it.
Oh my god. Okay, I want to hear Bear's other question.
Okay. Yeah. This is on the multi-boob thing.
Okay.
So you both are into it, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean that from the movie Total Recall that the chick with the 3 tits was like a thing for you guys?
All right, that's very funny because that's another one of those cultural touchstone movies that I just didn't fucking watch. And then when I found out later, it's like, oh, Total Recall, the chick with the 3 boobs, and I'm kind of like here nor there on it. I think it could be fun. I think it looks a little silly, but I mean, it could be fun. If anybody's ever heard of a fucking hentai anime called La Blue Girl, there's this monstrous transformation, and part of it is like this chick's chest kind of like spreads apart a little farther than it's supposed to as part of her other form, and just like an extra boob just like pops out the middle.
Oh my god.
But it's like they make it such an impactful, like, visceral change that I'm kind of like, you know what? Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, controversial 3 tits good? Like, yeah. I mean, I didn't see it when I was growing up. I only saw it afterwards, but I was like,
ooh, mouth on one, but both hands busy on other ones. Why not? That sounds
you
like
get a lot of options.
And it's lateral.
Yeah, which is
so
even better.
It's pretty ergonomic.
Yeah.
It can be very ergonomic.
Yeah. So
no more. Avoid the spine pain that you feel when you.
Do I have to pick up or do I got to pick down? Because they're in rows, they're in columns.
No, the rows, the columns are great in my opinion.
They are. I'm not even playing with that, but yes, the Total Recall thing is like whatever.
Certified good.
The more I think about it, hey, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like monsters. Like if I don't know, man, it's hard to argue against it.
Yeah, because it's good.
Yeah, unless you want to go with like, was it like Kung Pao? They had the chick with the 1 boob.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's why I think the term like multi-breast is always dumb to me because they're typically in multiples. Mean?
Oh my God!
Yeah, like multi-boob. Yes.
It's multiples of multiples, okay? Like, God.
Multi.
Why are you getting so semantic about it? Oh my God.
Because it sounds dumb.
Getting semantic is my kink.
I thought the quality of our thoughts was more, close to the quality of our language.
That's fair. That's fair.
So
that is important.
Thank you, George.
That's all I got.
Well, those are bangers,
cool.
So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, wait. What about you? It's fine. Because we did it to the previous one. So 3 is yay or nay.
Here's a controversial take. I don't like multi-tits.
Oh.
I don't.
Oh. I will now insert the boilerplate. I respect you and not here to make you feel like.
The disappointment on Zill's face. Holy shit.
Oh man, I see your like posture.
I'm just because
you're deflating, man. Okay.
Because no, it's fine. I respect your take. It's funny to me because especially at the beginning, and I this all still stands to be clear. I was just talking about how you do the most like luscious nip nops, and so to hear you're like only 2, no more, no less. I'm like, oh, okay. I understand. They are a treat. You only get 2. I understand.
Yeah, you don't want to get diabetes. I'm just saying.
Multi-tits gives you diabetes?
Yeah, if you have too many treats, you're gonna get diabetes.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I was like, wait, what do the breasts have to do with diabetes? I'm so confused.
They're delectable. You talk about why you'd want to keep them in your mouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, do more mouth sounds into the microphone, please.
Oh God, no, we're not doing ASMR. No. If people are looking for you online, Bear, where can they find you?
I don't know, some places. I think my username on FA is honey-bear, and I no longer use Twitter. So I am on Blue Sky, and I am also honey-bear. What is the rest of it? .bluesky.social.
Yeah.
And then I also have that Patreon thing where you can check out the comic and work in progress and all that other stuff. That is just honeybear, one word. Patreon.com/honeybear.
Yep,
Amazing.
and you were right. I just double checked it. It is honey-bear on FA, and on Blue Sky.
Thank you.
That. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope people check that out. And thank you so much, Bear, for coming on to reintroduce yourself. I thought that was great. And, as always, we love having you aboard and on the show. So, yeah.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the chance to, really dive into some of these topics a little bit more.
Hell
and,
yeah.
I'm sure I'll be back again.
Oh, yeah. We are never done talking about the nip knobs, even if there's only two of them. So, we support this.
Well, who knows? Maybe I'll do another thing and create an exception. I've done it before.
It's true.
It's true. All right.
Yes. And check out our Patreon as well. You pick one of us, please, to support. Because Bear also, again, is responsible largely for the art that we have.
The beautiful
really
art that is gracing your screen.
Yeah. And just that elevates our content and your experience. Yeah. So, we wouldn't have it without them. But, help either of us out if you would be so kind, or at least like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
Hit the bell.
Ring the bell, or, take your mind into the gutter and play with the button.
Slam that bell. Fuck that bell up.
I like that. Ring my bell. No copyright. No copyright is YouTube. You might hear us fucking sing a lyric.
Terribly. It's not going to trigger the fucking copyright thing.
I'm being pedantic about it.
I know you are.
Holy shit.
It's only a couple seconds that count. It's fine.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
It's been wonderful. Remember, you are not alone in this abyssal darkness. We are here, and we will face the darkness as brothers. We're all brothers.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Stay hydrated. Thank you. Bye. And we'll see you back here next week. Keep an open mind and stay TFy, y'all.
Hooray! Fuck you.